the door because she suffered from severe arthritis.
911.
So she called 911.
The police arrive, and how does he react?
He said, "You better get my mom in for a mental health evaluation. There's something wrong with her. She's insane."
She's the one who's sick.
And the police took him out into the driveway and talked to him, and he said, "I'm fine. I'm taking my medication. I've been taking my medication for years. I'm fine."
Later, John attended a public meeting of the police review board. He insisted he was the victim in the confrontation with his mother and that the police had been disrespectful to him.
You know, it's odd to me that I had the mistaken assumption that the police force might be there to represent me.
For his brother Robert, the incident was one more sign of John's deteriorating condition. Robert says he tried calling John's psychiatrist and therapist and hand-delivered a letter to the hospital, pleading for help. 4 months before the murders, John was picked up for an evaluation, but he was quickly released.
What did the doctor say the next day?
Well, I called the therapist, and I said, "What happened?" And she said, "Well, I guess we're just going to have to wait till this escalates a little more."
Escalates to what?
What it means to me is that he's going to have to get violent or hurt somebody or hurt himself until we can get him some help.
By now, John's illness was in high gear. Christian Miley tried to help his cousin by inviting him to stay in a guest house next to his home. Christian, a family physician, thought John would be safe. So Christian went on a long-planned vacation, leaving John with explicit instructions.
Very specifically said, you don't need to worry about the cat and don't water anything.
And what does he do?
He starts leaving multiple spigots on, watering the field, watering windbreaks, watering trees around the house.
How much water are we talking about?
He used 292,000 gallons of water in 3 or 4 weeks.
In early summer, his brother Robert was driving to work when his brakes failed, so he had it towed to a mechanic.
He called me and he said, "You got any enemies?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, somebody cut your brake line."
Do you have any suspects?
I think it was probably my brother. It's just getting pretty scary.
You're scared?
Right.
Do you think he is a time bomb at this point?
I thought so.
Yeah.
And on August 18th, 2005, John Hyde exploded. Robert called his mother to tell her what had happened.
I said John had shot 2 police officers. You just never think that that would ever happen in your life, that you'd have to say something like that to your mom.
And it wasn't over?
No, it wasn't over.
The manhunt for John Hyde continues, and when it ends, the city will be in for another. 11 minutes after midnight, an officer spots Hyde on his motorcycle and gives chase. Hyde collides with the police cruiser but survives with minor injuries. He's arrested immediately.
According to reports that we obtained, he said that he was sorry for what he did or something to that effect.
Unaware of the arrest, Sally Lopez, the widow of state transportation worker Ben Lopez, awakens in the middle of the night. Unable to sleep, she wonders if police will ever figure out who killed her husband earlier that morning.
A day of murders in Albuquerque.
Then Sally turns on the news and hears a report that suddenly jars her memory.
They were talking about the shootings at the motorcycle shop and Ben's murder, and then about 2 policemen being wounded, and the person that they were after was on a motorcycle.
You hear motorcycle and suspect.
Right.
What goes through your mind?
The conversation with Ben.
Sally recalls that the night before her husband's murder, he told Sally about a strange man who was riding around the transportation building just as Ben was closing up for the day.
He had asked Ben for motorcycle oil, and he specifically said pink oil.
Pink oil?
Pink oil. You know, Ben told him he didn't have any, and he told him to leave the property.
Did the man on the motorcycle say anything back to your husband?
That he would be sorry.
When Sally calls the police with her information, their investigation goes in another unexpected direction.
I was sitting right next to my colleague. We were both working this together. And I remember him saying, "Oh my God."
an illegal campfire. After Dateline, investigators find a cause to the Angel Fire in Julian. What residents have to say as they head back home. Plus, tragedy in Thailand. A plane crash kills 88 people, mostly tourists. New after Dateline.
Butoni. Butoni. I'm a muse. You know, a classic spirit of inspiration. Maybe you could use some inspiration for dinner tonight. Well, here's a muse flash. Butoni appetizers, pastas, and sauces in the refrigerated section. For Italian combinations any night, like Butoni 4-cheese ravioli and marinara. It's all the inspiration you need.
Conduct ballistics tests on bullets from all 5 victims. The tests confirm they all came from one weapon, a World War I era pistol owned by John Hyde. The tests also confirmed the suspicions raised by the call police